Hey, we made it. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to everybody out there in Facebook land and YouTube land. While I'm going through this, if you guys have any questions at all about anything I'm saying, if you got comments, whatever, put them down in the comments and I'll absolutely address them. Not a problem. The question today is, man, with rates going up, are prices going to come down? And it's a phenomenal question. It's probably the biggest question I'm getting right now. And it's understandable. People want to know, should I hop in right now? Man, if prices drop, I will have wished I waited. And I'll tell you this is my personal perception, right? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. There are reasons to think that prices would drop. There are reasons to think that prices would increase. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of both, right? Why would prices drop? If rates go up, your purchasing power, assuming your income has not changed, your expenses have not changed, your situation's exactly the same. If rates go up, the price you can afford goes down, right? Assuming you're shopping at the high end of your budget, which I would say probably 80-90% of my clients, 80% of my clients, it's a guess, but I would say 80% of my clients are shopping at the high end of their budget. If they're approved for $500, they're looking from $450 to $500. If they're approved for $700, they're looking from $650 to $700. There aren't a lot of people approved for $500 looking from $300 to $350. It happens, but it's rare, right? I would guess that's about 20%. So if you're shopping at or near your budget and the rates go up, it's going to impact your purchasing power. For that reason, it would make sense that prices are going to drop, right? Why do I think prices might not drop? Because Florida specifically has loads, over 1,000 people a day, loads of people coming into Florida from other states, right? Specifically from Pennsylvania, New York's the big one, New Jersey, California, Michigan. These states are pouring into Florida at massive rates. And if you've got high demand, and guys, we still have low inventory, demand and inventory it results in sales continuing to go up, right? So I remember back in 2008 when I sold, there were 13 sellers for every single buyer out there. So we would go look for houses as a buyer, and you could present any offer. You could be $20,000, $30,000 under. You could ask for your closing costs to be paid for. You could go nuts on the inspection. And sellers would a lot of times do it because they didn't have another option, right? And you had so many listings on the market, you were being inundated with short sales, foreclosures, people trying to sell. It was crazy. So it was really challenging as a listing agent. Right now, I've got 2 listings on the market. I got a good friend who is one of the top agents in the United States up in Alabama. He, the other day, posted that he's got 0 listings right now. They are selling fast. They sell so fast. I remember when I was a real estate agent back in Minnesota in 2008, there was a point where I had 30, 40 listings. You had a massive amount of listings because you would take them on, and you get a showing maybe every 3, 4, 5 weeks. And you were like, oh my gosh, I hope this is the one. I hope I get an offer, even if it's 20 grand low. Now it's just not the case. So I really do think that until we see a lot, like I'm talking 3, 4, 5 times the amount of inventory we currently have, until we see that change, I don't know that rates are going to have that big of an impact. I'll tell you right now, and rates have gone up this much. They're still historically low. I just put up a post the other day that said if you would have purchased at the very height of the market in September of 2006, right? Nationally, the average was that was the height of the market right before the drop. The rates were at 6.41%. 6.41%. That was what, 16 years ago, 15 and a half years ago? And 6.41 was a great rate back then. Now we're at a hair over 4. The other day I looked it up. It was 4.27% was the national average for a 30-year conventional fixed rate mortgage, right? So we're hovering right in that 4 to 4.25 range. It might go up a little bit. It might go down a little bit. They're thinking by the end of the year, it's probably going to go to right around that 5%. Could it go higher? Sure. Could it not go that high? Maybe even come down? Sure. It could do anything, right? But that's the projection. And the reason the rates are going up right now, the biggest reason the rates are going up is it's the government's attempt to curb the inflation that we're seeing. We're seeing massive inflation, some of the biggest inflation we've ever seen. And that's their goal, their intent with the higher interest rates, it's to curb that inflation, right? It's not the banks. The banks don't want to do it. It's the Fed. And the Fed uses that as a tool to manipulate the market. So that's their goal right now. So it really kind of depends how we see inflation play out. It depends on how we see employment play out. It depends on a lot of things. But not just in Florida, nationwide, until we see a lot more inventory come on, I really don't think it's going to matter. What I've seen in my little bubble, right? My little bubble of 1% of the buyers and sellers out there in the Port St. Lucie, Florida market, it's a little bubble, is this increase in rates has taken all my people sitting on the fence, all my people looking, and it's pushed them to say, Joe, we got to hurry up. We know that rates are probably, there's a better chance rates are going to continue to rise throughout the year than that they're going to stay the same or come down. And there's a better chance that prices are going to continue to go up than there is that they're going to come down. We need to hurry up. So I've seen it actually push people more than I've seen it make people say, hey, let's sit in the sidelines, right? The post that I put up the other day, here's where I want to get into a little bit of, my personal recommendations. And my recommendations are based on some of the thoughts that I had personally when my wife and I bought. We bought last July or June, something around there. And I said, honey, do we want to buy it or do we want to sit and wait for a little bit longer? Because when we got to Florida, I'm real estate. I'm 100% commission. You cannot get a loan with 100%. That's not true. You can't get great terms on a loan if you have less than 2 years of 1099 income. So I wanted to wait until I got that 2 years worth of income, right? And I said, honey, we're going to hit that 2-year mark. Do we want to buy? And she said, man, prices are going up so much, so fast. Maybe we should wait. So I'm an analytical. I went in and I looked and I said, in the last 70 years of data, only once has the real estate market dropped 10% or more. And that was back in the worst housing crisis ever, right in that 2008 range, right? If it's not going to drop at least 10%, I'd rather be paying down my mortgage than somebody else's. And if our odds of that happening are 1 out of 70, man, it almost seems like an educated decision to just pull the trigger. And I put up a post the other day. I think it's a great post. Guys, if you haven't seen it, go look at my Instagram, go look at my Facebook. It's a little guy like creeping up over a table, right? And it says, what if you'd purchased at the worst point you possibly could have purchased right before the housing crisis, right? You're buying at the peak of the market, September of 06. And if you'd purchased, this is from memory, I think housing prices averaged throughout the U.S. $2,016. I'm sorry, $216,000. If you'd stayed in that home through the worst crisis we've ever seen, 10 years later, it would have been worth $8,000, $9,000 more. It was $225 something. And that doesn't account for the fact that you would have been paying down your mortgage the whole time. Now, yeah, you've got to pay an additional to your principal and interest. You got taxes and insurance, and do you have repair fees and all that? Yeah. But all of those things add in for the landlord, and that's what they use to calculate your rent. They're making the same payment you're making. The difference is they're able to increase rents over time because the market's going up. So if you're renting, you're paying that additional rent. And all of those costs that they're taking on, the taxes, the insurance, the repairs, they're adding that to what they can charge you for rent. So rents have doubled from 2006 until now. So if you're looking at the alternatives, it does suck as a buyer. It does suck to pay higher prices. Everybody wants low prices. But guys, put yourself in the mindset of the opposite. The opposite would also suck, right? Back when it was a buyer's market, if you wanted to buy, you had to still sell. And when you sold, you got slammed. It was tough. And yeah, you make up for on the buy side, but you got slammed on the sell side. Now you're going to make out awesome on the sell side. But buying, you're going to pay some real prices, right? I'd say this too. Let's assume that the market does go down. There's a chance it does go down. Again, I think it's very slim. I don't see reasons to support it with the demand the way it is, but let's say it does. I remember when prices were not being justified back in 07, 08, 09. And you would put homes on the market for at comp prices, right? If it comped out at 3.25, you'd put it on for 3.25. You'd get a few showings. You'd maybe get some offers 10, 20, 30 grand under. People knew the market was changing. They were presenting what I felt were very reasonable offers, but they were not at asking price. And those sellers weren't taking the offers. And they were saying, Joe, I know my home is worth 3.25. Maybe the market's changed, but my home is worth it. And mentally, they were so attached to that price that they knew their home was worth at one point, they couldn't let go of it. The reason I bring this up is when we see a change, and we might see it in 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, 20 years, whenever the market shifts, and it will, it lags. When you start to see all of the data, all of the news, all of the whatever it is, maybe it's foreclosures, short sales, rates going up, whatever it is, it's going to take a good 6 to 12 months for sellers to feel that pain, feel the lack of showings, the lack of offers, the lack of strength, the lack of multiple offers, the lack of selling in 24, 48, 72 hours. They're going to have to see that over an extended period of time. And then the serious ones, the motivated ones, will start to shift their price and their mindset a little bit. But it's not something that happens overnight. I remember 07, 08, 09. It did not happen overnight. It took a lot of discussions, a lot of tears, a lot of pain, a lot of time to get those sellers to come down from a price they once felt their home was worth. So when it happens, again, whether it's tomorrow or whether it's in 10 years, it's going to lag. You're going to see all the news. You're going to see the numbers. You're going to see the listings coming on. You're going to see the demand come down. You're going to see the amount of available homes come up. And then it's still going to take 6 to 12 months before those prices really come down enough to where it would make sense. It's not going to be a surprise. And it wasn't a surprise back then. It took time. And for that reason, there was a 6, 12-month period where just, I swear, nothing sold. It just sat there because buyers were not budging. This is a buyer's market. I'm coming in 20 grand low. And sellers were not budging because I know my house was worth whatever it was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago. So there was a stalemate. I think you're going to feel a little bit of that. To what extent, I don't know, but you're going to feel a little bit of that for a 6 to 12 month period before you see the actual prices start to recede. I'm not seeing any of that right now. All I'm seeing is if your home looks average or better and it's priced within $10,000, $15,000 of where it should be, 3 days or less every single time, multiple offers, right? If you've done a listing inspection before you put it on the market, you probably don't have an inspection. If you didn't do it, you still might not have an inspection. It's either going to be cash or the winner usually is covering some portion of a potential short appraisal. That's just what we're seeing. So again, I really do think anytime somebody asks me this, the big change, the big difference that I expect to see before any massive change in this market is probably going to have to be more listings hitting the market. And right now we're just not seeing it. So that's what I'm keeping my eye out for. Guys, if you got any more questions, if you've got any concerns, if you're kind of thinking through the process, feel free to reach out at any time. It's a huge, huge, huge decision. And I think it takes a logical mindset, right? You want to get rid of as many emotions as possible, make logical decisions. I've seen people say for the last year or two, I'm going to sit on the sidelines and wait until the prices come down. And prices have gone up 50+% during that time. If prices come back down at '08 prices, numbers, not prices, but numbers, right? Percentages, you're still going to have broken even. And that's if we have the worst crisis we've ever seen, if we match it. So waiting has not produced good results. And those rental payments have gone up. If you bought a year or two ago, your insurance might have gone up. Your taxes might have gone up just as rent would go up. But that's it. Your principal and interest stayed the same. So it's challenging to tell people, especially as a realtor. You know, I'm a salesman. People know I'm making commission. But I honestly think, like, just statistically, I don't see any statistics that support waiting. It makes sense to get in, make a logical decision, but get in, move quickly, move intelligently, and make a decision and find something. I would also tell you this, because a lot of people, then there's two potential issues, right? The first issue is my credit sucks. If your credit sucks, I'm telling you, I see a lot of people, most people's credit can be cleaned up in 1 to 3 months. If you've got really bad credit, it can still be cleaned up in 6, 7, 8, 9 months. So if you're working diligently at it, if you're doing the things that you need to do, you can clean it up, right? If you need someone to connect to on the credit repair, let me know. We can hook you up with someone. The second big thing is cash. You got to have cash down. But honestly, if you're going to rent, you need to have first month, last month deposit. So if you're looking at a $1,800 rental, which locally that's tough, that's $5,400 you need. So that's not no cash. You still need some cash down, right? I will say though, on a purchase with 87 asterisks attached to this, you're going to need 3.5% down if you go with FHA, which is usually the cheapest way to get in, and you're going to need another 3 to 4% in closing costs, right? So you're looking at 6.5 to 7.5% percent that you're going to need in cash. Now, some of that can be gifted. So if you've got mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, cousins, brothers, sister, whoever, you can get a little help. There's ways to do that, right? Reach out to me, reach out to a lender. We can tell you how, but there's ways to do that. But you're going to need at least 3.5, 4% down plus the gifts to be able to get into something. So that's another challenge. But guys, I would tell you, if you're my kid, if you're my brother, if you're my dad, and you're asking, what do I do? And you don't have the cash, I'm going to tell you need to buckle down for a year or two and save that cash. I'm seeing a lot of people selling that bought 3, 4, 5 years ago. They're selling today, and they're putting $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 checks into their bank account. Or they're plowing all that equity into another home, a bigger home, and their payment is the same or maybe even smaller because they purchased at that time. These are shifts. These are moves. And again, I say, if you had purchased at the worst time back in 2006, September, you would have gotten a check for $40,000 at closing 10 years later during the worst housing crisis of our life. When the housing market is anything other than the worst crisis ever, those numbers are monumentally better. If you bought in 10 years ago from today, man, you would be seeing some dough. So just some things to think about. Again, guys, if you want to make some real decisions, sit down and talk with your favorite realtor, your favorite lender, someone who you truly trust, who knows the business and works full-time in that business. If you don't know somebody, you're always welcome to reach out to me. Guys, have an absolutely phenomenal Friday and enjoy your weekend.